And now, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
And yes, here we are again, another day committed to being your consumer advocate, all about helping you understand your buy decisions here in Tampa Bay. 80 different categories, consumer advocate content and advice. And we love to help educate, entertain, enlighten, and most importantly, we want to engage with you. So we greatly appreciate all those listeners that call into the show. Reach out to the hotline, 813-917-1894. All you have to do is call the hotline. You can call or text, 813-917-1894.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
Call the hotline. We love it when you reach out and support our show. You know, it's local area business owners coming in here and taking time out of their busy schedules to educate the audience out there. We're going to talk a little bit about real estate statistics here on the show. Insurance expert on the program today, as well as our estate planning elder law attorney as well. Attorney Patrick Smith is going to be on the program as well. We've got a great lineup for you. Got a feel-good story also. We always like to tell you something good in our feel-good story. So teacher creates kindness crew to inspire students to spread kindness. That's coming up here shortly as well. Quick shout out to Veteran Gutters, Brandon Porter and his team. He's a military veteran, served our country, and he's got a company called Veteran Gutters. So if you're thinking about putting gutters on your home, why not support him? And another great example of a local area company, a local patriot here in Tampa Bay, Veteran Gutters, for all of your residential and commercial needs. Let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. And we like to feature our real estate listings live on air. We help our sellers profit more and sell faster. We're a top 100 ranked real estate team here in Tampa Bay, and we like to help you win in any marketplace. Now, we've got a couple of hot listings here in Tampa Bay. I want to let you know about 4220 West Pearl. This is a commercial property, so attention, my self-employed, my contractors out there, business owners. 4220 West Pearl is a great opportunity in South Tampa. You've got mixed use here. Zoning wise, 1,200 square foot building, and you've got a corner lot with lots of parking, centrally located in South Tampa. Great opportunity for relocating contractor business or other type of business. 4220 West Pearl Avenue in Tampa, one of our hot listings. And we also have a restaurant for sale in Dade City. This is 14121 7th Street in Dade City. Great opportunity here. Turnkey operation, got all of the real estate included, the restaurant equipment as well, the cooking equipment, the refrigeration equipment, all for sale here. Established restaurant since 1990. So think about the patrons that have been patronizing this business for so many years. You got two dining rooms, one upstairs, one downstairs, apartment on site, 1 bedroom, 1 bath apartment. The sale includes the furniture and equipment. Perfect entrepreneurial investment with plenty of parking at 14121 7th Street, Dade City, Florida. And you can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
This is God's country.
All right, we're going to go to the phone lines here in a moment, but we've got in studio here attorney Patrick Smith back in studio. Welcome back in, sir.
Thank you for having me, Brandon. Happy to be here.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thanks for coming in. And let's give a little teaser of what we're going to talk about today.
So we're going to delve into Florida homestead law. A lot of people think they know Florida homestead because they start and stop their analysis with that break they get on their property taxes. We're going to delve into the other 95% of Florida homestead law that actually doesn't even live in statute. It lives in another body of law, so we're going to talk about that here shortly.
Yeah, very cool. That's where you see a lot of people putting so much money, the majority of their wealth, into their huge, elaborate, nice home primary residence.
Everyone thought it was just to fit the ego of the homeowner, but it is not.
Yes, that's right. All right. Awesome. All right, let's go to the phone lines here. We got Doug Levi on the line, Strategic Insurance. Hey, Doug.
Brandon, great day in Tampa Bay. Always good to be here as well.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Great to have you. And in the last show, we talked about the another one bites the dust, the insurance carriers. But you said not quite as bad, but we are getting some ratings changes.
Yeah, you're going to start calling me the Grim Reaper here with these insurance carriers. So the latest carrier to have some major issues is a carrier named Federated National. They are the carrier we have, by all ranks, a good carrier, been in business over 35 years here in Florida. They've got over 150,000 policies in the state. So this is not a small carrier. And on April 15th, they got downgraded. So they did not lose their rating, but they lost their A rating. And while, again, I know a lot of people out there may just glaze over at all this insurance minutia. While that's significant, and really the takeaway for our listeners, Brandon, is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which are the primary mortgage resources for, really the lending industry, which helps people buy homes. Obviously, you're being in the real estate industry. And then all the secondary mortgages that feed off of Fannie and Freddie say you have to have a carrier in the state of Florida that has a Demotech A rating, or we will not accept that insurance. So FedNat losing that rating, while they did not go out of business, it's certainly almost like one foot in the grave, frankly. It's a big deal. So there's questions right now, how the mortgage lenders are going to react to that and how quickly. The state of Florida, I was actually reading before the show here, just came out yesterday and said that Federated National has until this Friday to show a financial improvement plan and how they plan to raise additional capital. So that's yet another one. And we're in a tough spot here in the Florida home insurance space right now.
Yeah, it sounds like a challenging situation with these carriers. What led up to this? How did we get here?
Yeah, so lots of factors in that. Probably the biggest are the hurricanes that we've had cumulative over the last several years have really caught up to the carriers, right? And again, while we say here, well, we haven't had any storms in Tampa Bay, thank goodness. There's been lots of storms that have hit the Panhandle, lots of storms that have hit Texas, lots of storms that have hit the Southeast, and we're talking billions and billions of dollars, right? So all that at some level affects the industry. The carriers here in Florida, are not your large household names. They're not like an Allstate or a USAA or a nationwide insurance that, does business across the entire country and some of them across the globe. These are carriers that are based here in Florida. And so they are very reliant on what's known as reinsurance, which is the insurance that insurance companies get. And that has gotten very expensive because of those storms. And then probably one of the biggest ones, which can be a little bit controversial depending on what side of the aisle you sit, but there's a lot of fraud that occurs here. It's known as assignment of benefit fraud, and that occurs really over roofs and over water damage, And so the classic one is, and we see this, I just had a buddy send me a text message with this where a friend of mine gets an unsolicited text from a roofing company saying, we can basically get you a free roof here in Florida. Right. So, and you may hear stories where it's, oh, my neighbor got a new roof. Well, I want a new roof. I get that. As we've talked on the show before, I certainly get it as John Q. Public, wanting a quote unquote new roof. But the reality is a lot of these claims that are being filed, there's really nothing there. There is really no claim. And what's happening is attorneys are involved and some of these roofers that are maybe not as scrupulous as others, they will try and sue the insurance company. And frankly, the insurance company knows it's cheaper to buy a new roof than to fight it out in court. So that's a big issue, right? You've basically got people taking advantage of the system. You've got, some research shows that 85% of all insurance lawsuits where the carrier is sued over a property dispute are taking place here in Florida. So that is a very imbalanced picture. So something is not right. So the other thing that's happening is Governor DeSantis, who I like, has committed to a special legislative session in May, it looks like. So the details have not been announced for that yet, but it looks like the legislature is going to get back together yet again in May to try and put a Band-Aid or some temporary fixes on this issue here in Florida.
Yeah, wow, interesting. If you just joined us, we're talking with Doug Levi. He's the owner of Strategic Insurance here in Tampa Bay. If you need a review, reach out to Doug. He's got some awesome opportunities for insurance side hustling as well if you're looking for a part-time gig. TampaBayInsurance.com, one of the best URLs in all of Tampa Bay. Well, I'll jokingly say that, but it's great. It's a great URL. But yeah, you mentioned DeSantis. What a role he's been on, taking on Disney, protecting our students, protecting these children in school from being groomed. like they're allowing to happen in other states. And now he looks like he's going to try to take on, this insurance instability here in Florida. I wanted to have you say that stat one more time. You said something about 85% of lawsuits. So can you repeat that?
Yeah. So if you look, Brandon, and you say, and again, I'm not here to carry the water for the insurance industry. Keep in mind, I always say I work for the client, right? I'm a broker. I work for the client. The client is my end user who I care about. So I'm not here to defend everything the insurance industry does, period, right? But there's two sides to the coin, and there's certainly some things that are not right and fraud that occurs, right?
Yeah.
If we just think very simply, though, we say when it works well, you have a claim, you call me or your agent, you file a claim, somebody goes out, they look at the situation, the claim gets paid, right?
Exactly.
In a perfect world. And frankly, that's really what happened, I'd say probably 90 to 95% of the time. And the times where I see claims go bad, it's normally a communication issue. It's not normally sort of like the big bad insurance company just trying to screw the little guy. But let's say your claim doesn't go well, and you say, look, this isn't right, this isn't fair, I'm going to sue the insurance company. I don't think they're handling my claim fairly. 85% of all those types of claims out of the entire country occur here in Florida.
Wow.
So what does that tell you? That basically tells you that we've created an environment where it is extremely easy to sue the homeowners insurance carriers, right? And now we're at the point where this is really affecting everyone, because what we're seeing is a supply and demand issue, right? I've been in this business 19 years. We're seeing, we've had 3 carriers go out of business in the last 3 months. We've seen others downgraded. We're seeing others with negative financial outlooks. And so what does that do? So that from a supply and demand perspective, we're seeing prices going way up, right? Which is ultimately hitting the end user, the end customer, which is all of us.
That's right.
There's another statistic that says Florida is now the most expensive state in the country for homeowners insurance, where the average Floridian is paying something like $3,600 a year for their homeowners insurance.
Yeah.
It's a pretty staggering number, right?
It is.
And I'm sure several out there that are listening or driving around may be paying way more than that. So it's just on an untenable track. To circle back, again, I like DeSantis. I think he's a good guy, a straight shooter. I really hope we can get something done. It is becoming an issue, and I think this is going to be you're going to start to see more and more, and we're starting to see some of these news lines where it's like it's either between the senior citizens paying their prescription coverage or their insurance because it's getting so unaffordable.
Right, yeah.
So the state really has to step in and do something.
Right. Less competition is bad for the consumer. We need more competition. We need open markets. And yes, some of these 100%. Loopholes seems like they need to be closed up. It's too easy to sue, too easy to commit fraud. And there needs to be more protections in place against that type of activity. Yeah. Let's take a quick break there.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
Let's take a quick break. We got to keep our schedule here. But when we come back, Doug, we'll jump right back into that. Doug Levi here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, Strategic Insurance in the house. Coming up as well, we've got attorney Patrick Smith, estate planning, elder law, probate law, attorney patricksmith.com, going to be here on the show as well. And we have our feel-good story of the day. Teacher creates the kindness crew to inspire students to spread kindness. All here and more on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. For more information, go to consumerqb.com.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. Buying, selling, investing in real estate, their nationwide Keller Williams network makes them the best team to work with. Sellers, have your property featured live on air, creating multiple offers. Buyers, leverage a unique system that gets your offer accepted, never overlooked. Call or text 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550, or consumerqb.com.
Selling commercial or residential property? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. Reach me at 813-670-7372 or platinummvpteam.com.
Have you desired more income and more freedom in your life? Now is your time.
Keller Williams Realty has just launched our own real estate school, and you can get licensed for free. I'm Brandon Rhymes, host of the Consumer Quarterback Show, owner of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. And for the first 3 people who reach out, I will personally coach you. 813-917-1894. Call or text 813-917-1894. ConsumerQB.com. ConsumerQB.com.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at ConsumerQB.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
And we're back here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes. Almost 9 years on air now. Real proud of that. We've been a consumer advocate here in Tampa Bay for a long time. You can catch our show on a lot of different outlets, 85 different outlets. Binge Networks gets you on your smart television at home, Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Amazon, and more. Also, podcasts. You can catch the show on demand, kind of catch up if you missed us on. You can catch us on Spotify, iTunes, as well as our YouTube channel, 1,700 videos, and we're getting more and more views every week, every day, so real excited about that. Thank you so much for supporting the show and supporting our show partners. As for our sellers, if you're thinking about selling property out there, we'd love to help you win in the real estate deals, buying, selling, or investing. We've got a hot property listing here in Tampa Bay, 3008 North Nebraska Avenue. This one's here in Tampa Bay. It's a beautiful property, commercial opportunity here in Tampa Bay. I can tell you the owner's motivated big time. We got 3,600 square feet, price reduced, 6 bedrooms, 3 baths, mixed use building opportunity, plenty of building and parking. Seminole Heights, great area. Seminole Heights got a business office opportunity, 3008 North Nebraska Avenue. Great opportunity. And how about 141 Highland Avenue? This one's in Dunedin. Now, it's a great opportunity here. We are under contract soliciting backups now, but this one sold over ask price in 1 or 2 days. Went on the market, and we basically waited a couple days to accept the offer. But 1,000 square foot property, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 141 Highland Avenue, fully renovated home. I mean, that's a gorgeous remodel. It flows very nicely. You've got those beautiful, majestic oak trees in the backyard, sitting areas, the fire pit, the grilling area, just well done as well. Well done remodel with some pavers throughout the property as well. Great opportunity to own real estate here in beautiful Dunedin, Florida. You got walkability downtown, restaurants, the Pinellas Trail, oak hardwood flooring, and 2 blocks to TD Park and Blue Jays Stadium. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. All right, I want to go back to Doug Levi. He was making a point, driving a point home there, and Strategic Insurance. Doug, where do we leave off, my friend?
Yeah, just leaving off, this is becoming what I would call a kitchen table issue, right? Most people don't spend a lot of time thinking about their insurance, but you're going to hear more and more about it. And, I always trying to say, Brandon, take a positive out of negative. Well, what do we do about it? Love people reach out to us. You can reach out to us again, TampaBayInsurance.com, live chat with us. We still have over 15 carriers actively writing. We can still shop and find you the best rates out there. We have a real good handle on the marketplace. We also actually, Brandon, just created a link on our website where we're just aggregating a lot of information. We're just kind of calling it Florida Home Insurance Crisis, which is really what it is, and a lot of other reports have called it. So if you want kind of the latest and greatest info, what's going on, you can get that right on our site at TampaBayInsurance.com.
Yeah, one of the things, too, it's very important. We just kind of updated our insurance policies. We got a review. We worked with, Doug's awesome staff. He's got Kayla in the office there and just several great, staff members. But they walked us through on the umbrella policy. So if you're having parties at your home, have a pool, have a boat dock, jet skis, boats, stairs in the home, I mean, whatever it could be, you've got to be protected. Can you talk a little bit about how those come into play as well? You have that policy.
Yeah. They're super important, Brandon. Yeah, and I'm glad, and thank you for the great feedback on our team. They work real hard for our clients and our community. But basically, an umbrella goes above your home and your auto, and then any other assets you may have. It could be boat, vacant property, rental property, anything like that. It goes over all of it. Pretty affordable, relatively speaking. You're looking at maybe $300 to $500 a year for $1 million or more of coverage. And the idea is that if you have a major lawsuit, like you just said, okay, so I have a pool. I tell people, if you have a pool and you've got kids, it's a no-brainer, right? So kid gets hurt in the pool, or God forbid, drowned, or something serious happens, you're going to probably blow through the liability coverage you have on your homeowner's policy pretty quick. And then this puts $1 million above and beyond your personal assets to protect you and your family. So definitely well worth the cost and looking into.
Yeah, this kind of, whenever I think about these policies, it came to mind about a friend of a friend. Went to my daughter's school at the time. He was an attorney, successful attorney, had a backyard party for kids, had one of those big blow up slides with, where it's probably 15 feet in the air. Kid falls down, sues him. And I heard through the grapevine, and you don't know what these rumors are, but you heard that, it's like $1 million judgment. So if he didn't have a policy in place, that would have been some kind of a
no doubt.
Over time or something, man.
Yeah, you look at my backyard, and I'm an insurance guy, right? But we like to have fun. I mean, we have a trampoline, we have a pool, we have a little playground area for the kids, and we love to have people over and all that. So
yeah.
So the message is don't stop having fun, but make sure you're being smart and you're protecting yourself, because the reality is. And I've even seen it with friends. I've seen it with family, where it's like, oh no, that'd never happen. These people are like brothers to me. They never. Well, sometimes your brother can be the one that can be the one to be the worst, right? So, it's just a smart way to protect yourself when we're in a very litigious society, and especially a very, very litigious state here in Florida.
Yeah, and Patrick, I wanted to bring you in on some of that. 85% of the lawsuits in Florida, Doug was mentioning earlier, and then these umbrella policies can protect you. Did you want to comment on anything that Doug had said?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of insurance, and I think umbrella policies are always a smart way to go, because it usually leads to maxing out home and auto first, and then you add it's pennies on the dollar.
Right.
You can usually add a good $1 million or $2 million umbrella for maybe in the $300 to $800 range a year, depending on the particulars. And it's a great way to give your family peace of mind and put another layer of protection between you and those liabilities.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And then, this insurance, challenging issues that we have in Florida right now with the insurance. And, that was a staggering stat to me. 85% of lawsuits dealing with, insurance. And I bet you a lot of it is in the roofing particulars, storm damage type particulars. Are you seeing that too?
Yeah, that, and in addition to that, I think what you guys said about the insurance premiums driving upward and not coming down, they're pretty sticky when they head upward. But the statistic that's interesting in light of that is the fact that the population growth in Florida has not slowed down at all.
Right.
So despite those insurance premiums climbing, the demand is continuing to grow. So don't expect them to come down anytime soon.
Right.
As long as that demand continues to grow, classic economists would tell you, if that demand grows, the price is going to grow too.
Yeah, that's right. And, also something else that's sticky is rents. When rents go up, rents are sticky. That, these landlords aren't going to say, oh, that last tenant was paying $3,200. Let me drop you down to $2,900. Especially with the migratory patterns that we're seeing, not just birds, but we're seeing that in humans now. Blue state to red state, people coming for that safer open, more freedom type environment that DeSantis and his Florida state legislature has created here. So yeah, it's an interesting time and place here in Tampa Bay and in Florida in general. It's an interesting spot. Doug, back to you. Final thoughts to you, my friend.
Yeah, just be proactive. Don't be reactive, right? We talk a lot on the show about that, Brandon, and I think you bring so much value with the show partners you have. This is a time not to be at the wheel on your insurance, right? You really need to, know what you have, and if you need help, reach out to us, because you may have a carrier that's no longer in business, and if you're not really paying attention, you may find yourself having a claim with a carrier that's not in business, and that's not a fun day, right? So it's definitely an important time to be proactive on your insurance portfolio, especially right now here in Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. Get a review. Doug will do a review for you. Text insurance to our hotline. Text review to 813-917-1894. All you have to do is call or text that line, 813-917-1894. ConsumerQB.com. Doug Levi, he's got 15-plus carriers, can help you out. Check and see what's going on with your current policy. That's a big opportunity to avoid some pain in the future. And Doug Levi, local area expert contributor here in Tampa Bay, talking about the insurance challenges. Flood insurance, that's a whole nother issue we didn't really dive deep into, but we have on previous episodes, and you can see those episodes on our YouTube channel, Brandon Rhymes Realty on YouTube. So thanks a lot, Doug. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Always good being here, Brandon.
Likewise.
We'll see you guys.
Coming up, attorney
Bye-bye.
Patrick Smith. We're going to dive deeper into that homestead exemption on your property, homestead protections as well. What does that mean? How can that protect you, and what might that matter to you and your family? More here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Chris Voss, former FBI lead hostage negotiator and owner of the Black Swan Group, and you're listening to Consumer Quarterback Show hosted by my friend Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Five, four, three, two, one.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com. We've got a hot property listing at 14663 Village Glen Drive in Carrollwood. This is a beautiful property, a wonderful home, 2 bedrooms. You got 2.5 bath, great opportunity to own real estate right here in Carrollwood, Florida, one of the hottest areas in all of Tampa Bay. People love Carrollwood area. 14663 Village Glen Drive. You got a pool, hot tub, outdoor kitchen area, waterfall, pavers all the way around. Beautiful property here. Gourmet style kitchen. The master suite has a jacuzzi tub, sauna, and tanning bed, and just a great opportunity to own real estate right here in Tampa Bay. You can check out 14663 Village Glen Drive in Tampa on our website, consumerqb.com, and platinummvpteam.kw.com. And a quick shout out to our friends at Replenish IV Solutions. Say hello to Stephen and Lisa Gunnan at Replenish IV Solutions. I love going in there at least once a month. I go in and I have the nursing staff hook me up with a vitamin infusion drip, and putting all that good stuff, all the vitamins and nutrients into our body will help boost your immunity and help you stave off some of these colds and viruses floating around. Replenish IV Solutions. Longtime friends of the Consumer Quarterback Show. All right, we got our friend attorney Patrick Smith in the house, estate planning, elder law, probate, and today we're going to talk about the homestead protections that you have on your real estate properties.
Yeah, absolutely, Brendan. And like I said, a lot of people start and stop that analysis with just the property tax break they get every year when they go and get their ad valorem property tax notice in the mail, and they notice, wow, the first $50,000 isn't taxed, isn't that great, grand, and wonderful? And unfortunately, or fortunately, a lot of people don't know the rest of the story, but it's still there. And a lot of out-of-state attorneys trying to advise people as Florida residents scour our statutes for these rules, and they don't find it anywhere in the statutes because it actually lives in the state constitution, the highest body of law. It's Article 10, Section 4 of the state constitution where these protections live, and the biggest protection of all is the fact that the homestead property is creditor protected. It is shielded from any of your creditors. Now, there are two exceptions to this. There's, of course, the property tax exception. If you don't pay your property taxes, of course, they can put a lien against your property, and something called a mechanic's lien. So if you hire someone to do work on your property, like put in a pool or something of that nature, and fail to pay them, they can obviously lien the property in accordance with the mechanic's lien rules. But other than that, other than those exceptions, you're bulletproof.
Can they force foreclosure?
So it's a great question. So in your mortgage paperwork, one of the things you waive is your creditor protection, because you're dealing with a purchase money interest holder there. They are giving you the money with which to buy that property, so you give them the right to foreclose. If you read the fine print, you're actually sacrificing that in exchange for getting the money to purchase that property. So, but other than that, which is it's not a constitutionally granted exemption, that's granted by that particular homeowner. There's no cap to this. There's no economic cap. What it is under the Constitution, there's a geographical cap. So it's 1/2 acre within the city limits and 160 acres outside of the city limits. And you hear tons and tons of stories about people with a loved one going in a nursing home, and they're trying to get them on some sort of state assistance or something of that nature. And someone will say, well, the facility told me just sell the home, we'll spend the cash here, and this person can go on state assistance after the cash is spent, without telling them that they don't have to do that. They can keep the constitutionally protected homestead and go on state assistance sooner. And then people say, well, why wouldn't the facility tell us that? Well, why would they? I mean, these facilities, a lot of them are profit-driven organizations. They're certainly not charities. So why would they give you advice that's in your best interest as opposed to their shareholders' best interest?
Right.
So
exactly.
That's why it's important to seek independent legal counsel anytime you're dealing with your homestead property or the homestead property of loved ones for whom you're providing care. It's incredibly important that before you act, you look before you leap.
Yeah, absolutely. And when going back to the example you gave about the property taxes, of course, homeowners associations can also, they have some type of superior lien,
right?
And then also the mechanics liens. So can those mechanic liens be force the homeowner into a foreclosure?
Yes,
they can.
Yes, absolutely. And then, I mean, unless you defend against the lien, which obviously you can object to the lien and respond accordingly. And we've had that case. But at the end of the day, it's one of those situations where a lot of people don't fully realize the constitutional creditor protection that they have in their homestead property and the ability to shield and protect wealth. Now, There's another side to that coin. And the state of Florida, as a matter of public policy, says, hey, if we're going to give you these protections for your homestead, we're going to kind of require you to protect the homestead for certain people whom should be important to you, namely spouses and minor children. So those are the requirements there. A lot of times you see situations, and I'm sure you see this in your industry all the time, when you go to closing and the property has just the husband's name on the deed, they say, well, the spouse has to join. And people say, well, why did the spouse have to sign off on the sale when the spouse's name wasn't on the deed? It's because of the state constitution. So Article 10, Section 4, subsection C says it in the affirmative. You may alienate or transfer homestead property with spousal joinder, but it's the converse that really shows the rule. You may not transfer it without spousal joinder. So you'll see that where you say the spouse's name appears nowhere on this deed, but still the title company required the spouse to sign. This is why. And a lot of people out there are listening saying, that's why they had my spouse join, because the state constitution requires that to transfer any homestead property.
Is that the dowry rights?
It's a little bit different than dowry because it's not with regard to an inheritance provision per se.
Got it.
So it's not like a spousal right to inherit, but there are particular rules on that as well with regard to spouses inheriting property. And lots of people take appropriate action. We see a lot of blended families now. A lot of people who were married the first time for 50 years, their spouse passes away because of a disease or natural causes, and then they find love a second time around. And when they do that, a lot of people appropriately protect themselves with good prenuptial or postnuptial agreements, because what we've seen is this track of prenups and postnups where they're not really the pre-divorce document that they were years ago. They've really transitioned in a lot of ways to being an extension of estate planning and
Okay.
to addressing certain spousal rights to homestead and saying that, in light of the fact that I did remarry, I don't want the default rules of if I pass, my spouse gets the automatic right to live here or the ability to take one half of this home away from my family through a tenant in common election. I want them to waive that right and will lay out the rules for this.
Right.
And they do that with a good prenuptial or postnuptial agreement.
Wow, interesting. Good stuff. We're talking with attorney Patrick Smith here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes, attorneypatricksmith.com, estate planning, elder law, probate, and kind of a little bit of a mixture in real estate law here today.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, homestead, it's a big deal. A lot of people don't realize it. They get that, what's like Bob Henriquez sends out, after the name's escaping me every year, they get that printout.
Your ad valorem property tax notice.
There you go. Yeah,
That's
your
right.
trim notice.
That's
yeah,
right.
Trim notice. So it comes out and they say, oh, okay, well, what does all these numbers mean on there, right? It's like a confusing time for people. But yeah, homestead, you can protect it. There's those extra protections on that. Now, none of this that you're talking about was dealing with investor opportunities at all, right?
No.
That's completely separate.
Yeah, these rules don't apply to non-homestead property. So if you're going to sell your rental property and you're married and it's just your name on the rental property, the spouse isn't required to join. But if you move out of your home, sell it, and then move into the rental, congratulations, you just made it your homestead property. Now the spousal joinder is required. Here's the other issue when it's minor children.
Mm-hmm.
Minor children can produce restrictions on property. We had a case where the grandparent actually inherited a minor child, and the grandparent had a homestead property, and now since they were actually made, they adopted the minor child. They now had a minor. They now have homestead property that's constitutionally restricted in its devise.
Wow.
So in those late 8 years, they're stuck with constitutionally restricted homestead property because of the fact that they adopted a minor grandchild and made it a child, essentially.
Wow, that's
So
interesting.
You got to be aware of these issues. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great point there to make. And these days too, that people are realizing, hey, the market's hot. They're trying to sell. We're seeing a lot of people trying to sell, can't find a place to move to, but that portability is there. So people don't realize also about that homestead exemption, the portability aspect, to be able to take that to the next home and kind of be grandfathered in a sense, to that lower tax basis.
Yeah, as long as you're carrying it forward for the purchase of a new homestead property, and that's going to be your primary residence, and you're not taking the homestead and then attempting to use that to purchase some rental, and you're simply not going to have a homestead, you should be fine. It should carry forward. And, I tried to make the argument when we sold our much smaller home and built our larger home in Pinellas County. I tried to argue, well, I should be paying the same property taxes I was paying on the smaller house, and Pinellas County disagreed. Turns out they were right, but I thought I'd make the argument nonetheless. They're like, we'll give you a little bit of a credit. I said, I'll take it. But at the end of the day, yes, you do get a credit applied for being a prior homestead property owner when you sell one homestead and apply for the other.
Yeah, it's interesting. And when you think about where we're at right now too, with runaway inflation, a lot of challenges happening in the marketplace. People are wondering, where can I put a hedge against inflation? How can I put some of my money in a safe place? I mean, that's a big challenge for people right now too.
Yeah, hands down, it's the homestead property. It's
right.
Constitutionally protected, and real estate in Florida right now is a uniquely fantastic opportunity, given the way that, like you and I were talking about the absorption rates. I mean, it's
right.
Just absolutely amazing what's going on with Florida real estate right now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we got more with attorney Patrick Smith here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Estate planning law, elder law, probate, quit claim deeds, all these different things come into play out there, and they're quit claims, not quick claims. So, all right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we got our feel-good story of the day as well. Teacher creates kindness crew to inspire students to spread kindness here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Ian Beckles here with my man Brandon Rhymes, a.k.a. the real estate quarterback. Brandon, what's happening with the market?
Thanks, Ian. Any of our listeners out there, we'll offer you a 2% listing for the first 3 callers that reach out to the hotline, 813-917-1894. Call or text the hotline 813-917-1894. Also, a great opportunity for folks out there looking for a part-time gig, maybe a side hustle, is Keller Williams Real Estate School, powered by Kaplan. Reach out if you'd like more information on how we have a free real estate school for you, online class, get licensed, and start referring business in, or maybe make a new career. 813-917-1894, consumerqb.com for our syndicated radio and TV show on 80 outlets worldwide, consumerqb.com, or our real estate website at platinummvpteam.kw.com. That's platinummvpteam.kw.com. And please follow us online at Brandon Rhymes 1 on Instagram, Twitter, Getter, and check out our YouTube channel, Brandon Rhymes Realty. Make it a great day.
My name is James DeJerome, and I produce the Consumer Quarterback Show for Brandon Rhymes. The Consumer Quarterback Show is a team, a group of like-minded professionals who partner together to provide our audience sound advice, knowledge, and information to make them wiser consumers. We work with all types of business owners and aggressively promote our local economy. We're currently conducting interviews for our expert contributors. If you own a business or know someone who would benefit from the exposure our show provides, please contact us at 813-750-0550 or online at consumerqb.com.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
And we're back. Consumer Quarterback Show, helping you win in any marketplace. We're talking with attorney Patrick Smith here on the show, estate planning, elder law, probate law, here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Before we jump back into this, we always tell you something positive here on our feel-good story of the day.
Tell me something good.
All right, let's get a teacher in Louisville, Kentucky, teaching students the importance of kindness and providing creative outlets for them to practice it daily. Stephanie Bibb is a teacher at John F. Kennedy Montessori Elementary School. She also leads the school's kindness crew. Students in the kindness crew often hold door for others, greet students and teachers each morning with posters, and have positive messages focusing on being helpful and respectful and help others to remember to be kind. Fourth grade member Anaya Cox said her favorite act of kindness is giving hugs. I like to make people smile, and I like to make them smile because it lights up my world, and I know it makes them feel warm inside too. And she goes on to be quoted as John Johnson's quoted as saying, "My favorite act of kindness is being able to hold the door for other people because it shows that you care about them." Fifth grade student at the kindness crew. So there's our feel-good story of the day. Kindness message resonating in Kentucky. All right, we got attorney Patrick Smith here on the program. So I wanted to play a quick clip here. This is one of the podcasts I listen to, and it's talking about like the couple, what we have right now with, inflation coupled with rising interest rates. This was an interesting clip that I've got here. I believe this was from Bannon's
On the economic
podcast.
side, I think this
Steve
is crucial
Cortez.
because let's face it, there has been a generational grand larceny committed by boomers against young people right now. The debt that we are piling on, $30 trillion of debt in the United States, a debt that is going to become increasingly untenable as interest rates rise, and they've been rising dramatically because of Biden's inflation. That is effectively a generational theft from young Americans. In addition to that, regarding inflation, and the inflation states is far worse than France, but they still have bad inflation over there. The inflation scenario, Steve, who benefits from inflation? It is the owners of assets, which are overwhelmingly older people. Just by definition, the people who own lots of assets, the people who are benefiting from inflation almost always are middle-aged, if not elderly. Who relies on wages, on income? Young people. Real wages are crashing in the United States because of the policies of Joe Biden. So there was already a generational grand larceny going on, and it is being massively exacerbated now by inflation because, again, young people in general are not holders of significant assets. They are people who are starting to make money. They are the aspirational people who want to acquire assets, including a new home, which has been increasingly priced out of reach for far too many young Americans. And again, this is a global phenomenon. I'm focused here first and foremost, always.
Yeah, so it's interesting too, like the way it affects, like seniors have gotten screwed on one hand because their retirement accounts aren't paying what they used to. You remember back in the day, you used to get like 4, 5, 6% just for putting money in some type of a money market account. Now you don't. And then he calls it generational grand larceny. Steve Cortez, the way he says that is interesting. And then how inflation, that's affecting the the people that are owning assets, and then rents are rising, as we talked about. And then, of course, getting harder to purchase real estate.
Yeah, and you got to love the flair for the dramatic. I mean, the generational grand larceny.
The flair for the dramatic, yeah.
It's excellent. But I guess to that point, I mean, I would point out what happened in 2008. There was a massive hit to the markets, and a lot of people's 401ks and IRAs took that hit. And that gets reported all the time. But what doesn't get reported is the recovery. I mean, those markets corrected. And I think that, that's what we learned from a free market economy is it will correct itself.
Right.
And people often get nervous about how it will correct itself. But it will. I mean, we have the brilliance of a free market economy here. I mean, look at what's going on with Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, people are up in arms about that, but that's a free economy at work.
Right.
I mean, may we all be so lucky to be able to offer $43 billion to buy something one day.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the end of the day, I think wages, they will oscillate. And I think that also forget that, the elderly are going to pass eventually. I mean, we're all going to pass, absent the Lord's return. And I think that's where Steve, and all respect to Steve, I think the comments are a little short-sighted, only because I think that it's failing to take into account the generational wealth that will be transferred when a lot of elderly pass, and that wealth gets handed down to other family members. So I think that will sort of buoy potentially the downturn in wages until the wages have time to correct. But altogether, I'm a big believer in the free market economy, and I believe that it will correct itself.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. And the challenge I see, too, is that we've been offshoring so many jobs, and that trend has come back. I think we're offshoring a lot of the jobs, manufacturing. Got to bring manufacturing back. And then let's talk about that as far as transferring of wealth. So the death tax, that's another big issue.
Yeah,
right?
It's obsolete now. I mean, 1975, the exemption was about $176,000, I believe. And that number today is over $12 million. So, and also there's portability between spouses now. That applies statistically to less than 1% of the population.
Really?
So, yeah, and if you're out there, I mean, and you're over $12 million, it'd be fantastic to work with you.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you're not over $12 million, it'd be fantastic to work with you. There's still a lot of good planning, and I think that's the misconception. People think that estate planning is something that's only for those ultra wealthy.
Right.
I mean, formal probate kicks in Florida when the assets outside of any exemptions are over $75,000 under the probate code. So there's a great opportunity there to reduce a lot of the post-mortem administrative expenses. And I think that when you take all of that into account, that you're going to see an uptick in planning. And I think we're seeing it. And I think people are starting to be more concerned about how to most efficiently and optimally pass along that wealth. So I guess that's the view that I bring to Steve's comments. And when I see what I see daily with people being so particular with their planning, I think we're all going to be just fine. I agree that, there's always a duty to be concerned, but I'm not crestfallen. I'm not depressed. I'm wonderfully optimistic. Maybe it's just the Ronald Reagan fan in me.
Yep.
I always believe that the sun's going to rise tomorrow and it's going to be morning again in America.
Yep.
And I think that America's best days are not behind us.
Right.
At all.
Good.
I think the brightest days are to come.
I love that. Now, do you think with these interest rates going up, how's that going to affect things?
Well, I think it will have a short-term impact on, the ability of people to borrow. And I think that it'll be like what happened in 2008. It's going to weed out a lot of people who can't afford now. But again, I think as generational wealth begins to pass, that'll correct.
Yeah. And the challenges too, it's the same old challenges. You see the affordable housing challenge, firemen, police, et cetera, can't afford to live in that vicinity to the downtown areas or to the, the job basis. So they're moving up, northern, eastern. Here in Tampa Bay, it's northeast. People are moving for higher ground, so to speak, as far as cheaper ground, cheaper dollar per square foot living. So I think that's a big challenge too for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, housing is a challenge all across the nation. I mean, we recently did a trip to Manhattan. Manhattan and the unhomed there. I mean, it is a massive challenge right now.
Yeah.
And so it's all over the spectrum. And so where some people have struggles buying their first home, some people have a struggle having a place to stay at all. So it's a matter of relativity, and I think it's a matter of perspective. But I think that at the end of the day, it's kind of like, Jimmy Stewart said in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. As long as there's a little looking out for the other guy,
right?
Basically, we're all going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like that. As long as you keep that age-old adage, love thy neighbor as thyself, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, with the homelessness stuff, crisis going on and the opioids, I think a lot of that leads to the southern border being open, fentanyl coming across the borders. And then, of course, the legal drug dealers, the Pfizers, the Modernas, the CEO, the big CEOs up there passing a lot of drugs on. Unfortunately, the veterans are stuck in that position as well. And so, affordable housing is a big issue. I think interest rates rising is only going to exacerbate that problem. Vacant land is hard to come by, here in Tampa Bay. If I ever list, affordable lots, they go pretty quickly. So it's a challenge. But talk to us, take the last minute or so, talk to us about how folks can reach out and get that estate planning done.
Yeah, so you can always call my office if you want a complimentary estate planning consultation, 877-754-6764, 877-754-6764. You can email me, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com, or you can listen to me on Saturday mornings, 8 a.m., on 102.5 The Bone and 13 other stations that carry the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. And we're proud to announce that we're actually going to have Mr. Rhymes as our guest on the June 4th show, so we're looking very much to that.
Yeah.
So make sure you tune in for the June 4th show for Brandon's appearance on my show.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Real excited about that, and congratulations on the radio show syndication.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate
it. That's awesome. You're in a lot of different markets now, and
very surprised, and could not be happier, but I'm most surprised by how much fun I'm having doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You definitely have that passion for it, and everybody that I've talked to shares that as well. They say you do a great job for them.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate your kind words.
Yep, my pleasure. Hey, another great show. I want to thank all of our producers, the team here behind the scenes putting it together, John, Jose, and James, and all of our listeners out there, viewers of the show. Please continue to support the program. Reach out to the hotline. Call or text the hotline, 813-917-1894. Any questions, any comments, we can put you in touch with our expert contributors. And another great show. Thank you to Doug Levi, Attorney Patrick Smith. And we want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another and be a force for good in the community. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Call Brandon Rhymes at 813-917-1894. That's 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show.